And
but I know you were busy passing the budget, but your government told reporters last night that's not happening anymore.
Well,
and it's very hard to understand how.
I would say, just going back on extortion, I'll be meeting also with counterparts who are engaged in that because...
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Smash that like, hit subscribe. Let's get straight into the absurdity of Canadian federal politics.
The Prime Minister and his delegation, including Premiers Scott Moe and Susan Holt, took off this morning. It's a long flight and an initial destination that's fraught with controversy. Canada and India are in the process of a reset of sorts following the murder of a Sikh activist in BC 3 years ago, which the RCMP and then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau linked to agents of the Indian government. Last night, however, a Canadian official told reporters in a background briefing for the trip that the Indian government has ceased their attempts at transnational repression in Canada. Basically, the threat from India is over, which is a stark change from what the RCMP and Justin Trudeau told Canadians not that long ago. We've asked the RCMP if that statement is true. So far, we have yet to receive a response. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne will be accompanying the Prime Minister on this trip. I spoke with him this afternoon on Parliament Hill right before he left. Hi, Minister.
It's great to be with you.
I appreciate you making the time for the conversation, as always. I know that you're about to get on the plane to India.
Leaving now.
And that's specifically what I want to ask about. And in particular, in Davos, the Prime Minister said, Canada will calibrate international relationships, quote, so that their depths reflects our values. What does that mean for India?
Well, I would say the whole trip is about, and the whole vision is about being strong at home and strategic abroad. I would say when you're looking at where Canada is in the world today, every G7 countries have found a path to engage, obviously, with India. It's one of the fastest growing economies in the world. And Canada is no different. Actually, I think it's good for Canada. You know, engagement doesn't mean endorsement. In a sense, you engage with nations. I think with India, there's a lot we're going to be talking about with critical minerals, with energy, with trade. And I think it's a good thing. I think Canadians want to see Canada on the world stage, a serious country engaging in serious discussion with partners who obviously are engaging with all our other G7 partners and obviously beyond. So this is right for Canada to engage strategically, and that's what we're doing.
I do take your point on other countries engaging very much so with India. I think the reason that some Canadians might have questions more specifically about Canada's level of engagement and whether or not, as you pointed out, it equates or not to endorsement is because of what we heard from the Prime Minister you previously served under, from the RCMP, and then strangely, later in the week, this week, from an unnamed government official, that there's no longer concern about transnational repression from India. Is that true? Is that an official statement from your government?
As you would appreciate, I've been very busy with passing the budget, which is going to pass today. I've not seen or heard about some references to comments made, but public safety is always top of mind. Obviously, that's the first duty of the government, and I know the Minister of Public Safety is engaged, Minister of Foreign Affairs is engaged. But what I say, you have to put that also in a broader context of strategic engagement, because yes, we're going in India, we're going to go in Australia, Prime Ministers in Japan. And I think it's a reflection also of what you've seen. You may have seen the numbers now. We have attracted more foreign direct investment in Canada now than it's a record of the last 18 years. So us engaging with nations who want to do trade with Canada, I think is to the benefit of our workers, our industry. And like I said, Canada is no different than our G7 partner. You need to engage with the world if you want to diversify, be more resilient. And the world is changing rapidly. And I think Canadians, that's why you've seen like 2/3 of Canadians understand the economic vision we put forward with the Prime Minister, which is strong at home, strategic abroad. And the reflection also, I would just say to you, Vassy, that you have heads of states, head of government from fast-growing economies, like India, for example, that want to receive the Prime Minister in Canada, because we're going there with a business delegation. Some premiers, I understand, will be there. What we talk, the Maple 8, some of our biggest pension funds. So the interest is there. The engagement is going to be there. I'm going to meet my counterpart, the Minister of Finance, which I've known for many, many years. And I think fundamentally, in a world which is fast changing, you want to be building the strategic relationship with the appropriate guardrails and everything else that you need. But I think it's what I would call strategic engagement.
It is, though, the Prime Minister himself who said we will calibrate that engagement
accordingly with our values. When you point out, for example, and full credit to the additional inflow, right, for highest since 2007 of foreign direct investment, more than half of that comes from the United States, though. It isn't the result of diversification efforts, and I would ask again where India is concerned, because it isn't the same as every other country. Canada and India's engagement isn't the same. Canadians, and in particular Sikh Canadians, this week, for example, there have been extortion attempts with shootings that the Bishnoi gang took responsibility for. A Sikh leader was visited by the police a few days ago in Vancouver and told he and his children are once again targets and that they should be fearing for their life, right? I don't understand exactly how your government intends to reconcile those things. The Prime Minister has largely avoided answering questions.
Well, I would say we're taking that very seriously. You may have seen that I launched our strategy and measures, which we call Follow the Money strategy, which, if you talk to law enforcement officers, our G7 partners, and one of the G7 meeting we had representative of the FBI, Treasury Department, and like you said, some of that is related to domestic crime and gangs. Some of it is also transnational. And
but I know you were busy passing the budget, but your government told reporters last night that's not happening anymore.
Well,
and it's very hard to understand how.
I would say, just going back on extortion, I'll be meeting also with counterparts who are engaged in that, because we understand it's a transnational issue. It's not. There's part of it which is transnational. We're building our own financial crime agency, and part of the announcement you saw last week, which communities that you mentioned were very. I think people welcome that, because in my view at least, and talking to law enforcement, the follow the money strategy is the right one, because that's where you want to be able to catch the criminals. And I say we're going to make their life miserable, and we're going to monitor that. Those are additional measures. First time we put boots on the ground of what we call FinTrack, which is the agency which is able to detect these illicit payment. And working also with our international partners. I put that on the G7 agenda. So when it comes to extortion, to public safety, being tough on crime, certainly we've been there with measures that do that. That being said, you can do that and at the same time engage with the world. I mean, you can do
but
these two things.
But I'm not talking about the world. I know what you're saying. Yeah. I think Canadians completely understand the impetus to find new markets. But I'm saying India specifically. Yeah. Last week, you wouldn't even say if the issue would be raised by the Prime Minister during this visit. Will it be?
Well, listen, I can tell you what the meetings I have. We're going to be talking with, there's different agencies, so I won't go into naming all of them because we have quite a series of meetings. But certainly the work we're doing internationally, because that's not just a unique Canadian problem, just so we're clear. This is not just uniquely Canadian. That's why when I was the chair of the G7, we even put that at the G7 finance minister agenda, what we can do with respect to financial crimes, the need to work better together, to learn from best practices. And it's something that we'll certainly discuss with my counterparts to see how can we engage more closely so that we have how can I say, a better engagement from there's already engagement, at the enforcement agencies level, but how can we work better together in order to counter, obviously, extortion and other types of crime?
Just one last question on that, because then I want to ask about your trade aspirations, more specifically with India. If you follow the money and it takes you to the government of India, will you confront that head on? What can you say to Sikh Canadians who don't believe you will anymore, your government will anymore?
Well, listen, you don't need to just listen to what I say, but what I did. Last week, I think the strategy we presented and the measures we announced, I mean, I was with the Peel Police, the Deputy Chief of Police in Peel, Prime Minister was in Surrey. I mean, our actions speak louder than words in the sense that we've been there on the ground talking with law enforcement at RCMP. First time that we put FinTrack officers on the ground, first time. Never done that. So that's measures. Why? Because we wanted to embed the people who can follow these illicit payment with the police officers so that when they seek, for example, mandates in order to be able to track these people, we could work better together, respecting different jurisdiction that these agencies work on, but better coordination. So when we see something wrong, we can act. We work with the banks to have what we call red flags. We have a joint team now, like we did with fentanyl. So those are real things.
Oh, yeah. Canadian federal politics are absurd. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. If you've enjoyed our video, smash the like, hit subscribe. That is it. Thank you all so much for watching. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Ciao for now, gang. Catch you in the next one.